Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. And our sides, certainly mine, maybe a few others, no doubt, have copped a few hits. Jared McVeigh is out, Aaron Hall is out, Michael Barlow is out. Of course, we expected that. Ben Kennedy is out. Tom Liberatore comes back, which is nice, as does Rory Laird. Jimmy Bartel is back, which is helpful as well. As far as Brett Deledio is out, of course, that too was expected, but I don't think the severity was too bad there. So it's an interesting stage, no doubt. I think, it's frustrating because it's the time that we all sort of see our sides coming together in full, and that time where we can look forward to the weekend and just have premiums rolling out left, right and centre for our sides. And all of a sudden there seems to be just a weekly occurrence of guys being out. Now it's frustrating. I think probably the back line most will be hit hardest with. Of late, I think there's been quite a few rearrangements of some critical backmen in the like of Laird, Bartel as well, now McVeigh. But certainly the forward line could be tricky at this stage because no doubt a lot of people will still have Hall, Deledio and possibly even Barlow. There's real potential that people could have all three. So I'll focus in on that initially because I think we all know what to do at this stage. You just want to get premiums all over your field. It's as simple as that. But what do we do? Deledio's out. How do we approach that? I'm more inclined to keep him, to be honest. I think, they'll be cautious with him, but they said he was in the mix for the Hawks game. Now, reading between the lines, you surely think that then means that he's fine for next week, but Brett Deledio and calves generally doesn't mean 1 week, so I understand if you're looking to trade him. I'll discuss some trade options in a sec. Aaron Hall, well, that's interesting. I haven't really been able to get a great read on what he's doing as far as the rest of the season. I mean, a hammy, there's no real hoo-ha from what I've been reading, albeit it was minimal. I just had a bit of a scan before. So I think you'd probably hold. It's interesting because I think Deledio and Hall, you could probably argue the case, both will be 1 to 2 weekers, and Deledio is a far better scorer than Hall is. So you could definitely argue the fact if you're going to trade one of them, it would be Hall. Now, of course, you get rid of Barlow, no doubt. He's out for the rest of the season, so yeah, it makes it tricky. I mean, I know we don't have a great deal of coverage. There is Sam Reid, who's still named in the side to this point. Sunday teams to be revealed. Kennedy going out. I still see a few people have him, which is interesting. So who do you look for? I think Zach Merritt and Dane Zorko are the obvious ones. Obvious but perhaps less popular. I think everyone has Martin, Montaigne's popular, Franklin's fairly popular. So I think you go for them. Wells, of course, is pretty popular, and you'd stay focused with him, despite what was a poorer week last week. But you'd imagine he'll work his way into it. Merritt's in unbelievable form. Zorko's continuing to do what he does. He's a very consistent player. Dalhouse isn't far away, but you certainly wouldn't be trading him in this week, of course. Jack Gunston's a point of difference. I will say that much. I wouldn't bank on him, but he has had a great season and is a point of difference, no doubt. And aside from that, the forwards are difficult to pick. No doubt they're difficult because we know probably the best 5 or 6. But aside from that, Dalhouse and Barlow, 2 of the more reliable. For most of the season, I suppose. And they're out. Hall, Deledio out. And it makes it very difficult. I mean, Nick Rewald, I'm a fan of Nick, but his former late hasn't been great. I know I don't have Zorko or Merritt, and they just stand out well above the rest as far as players to pick. So I would bring in Zorko, no doubt. If you're looking for the backline options, I've harped on Rance a little bit, but if you don't have Doherty or Boyd, you really want to get them in. And I think if you want a nice sort of, quality player but not breaking the bank, I think it's Rory Laird. So just a few guys, and the midfield options are plenty. mention them frequently, and there's a lot of guys. Hanbury I bought in last week. He let me down last week, but he's at 5.25, and I'd have no hesitation in bringing him in again. He's a great player. Similar price as Robbie Gray, you'd bring him in too, and not far off that is Pritis, and we all know the guys you want to bring in. The midfield, it's pretty plain and simple, really. I think Sam Collins, you could probably just about chop unless you really need to keep him for coverage. But I think he's probably peaked. So, Goldstein's an ever-present worry, potentially to be rested. He's not right, but North continue to play him. So, let's hope that continues to be the case. But at this stage of the year, I'm unfortunately not telling you too much you don't know. I think we want to be finalising our sides each and every week. That's what you want to be doing. And just avoiding these sort of crises. So, look, Deledio and Hall, yeah, I guess my final thought is, if they're going to cost you 0, then get rid of them. And if you're going to get rid of one, it'd be Hall. And I guess I'm facing that sort of a challenge as well. I originally was going to go Jaden Hunt to Zorko, but it might now just have to be, I guess Hall to Zorko. It's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to have to think about it, because the thing you got to weigh up, I'll use my team as an example because it's right in front of me. Do I cop a 0 this week? Now, look, if Sam Reid is dropped, then that really throws a curveball because I stare down the barrel of 2 zeros. Let's just say Sam Reid keeps his spot. Do I go, look, I'll trade out Hall for Zorko, keep Hunt. I don't really know where I'm going to go from there. Next week, is Dalhouse back? I'm not sure. Can I afford Merritt? Don't know. So it leaves the potential of you hanging around with a really poor player for some time. Or do I go the old short-term pain? Do I trade Hunt, stay with my original plans, then I cop a 0 with Hall? And, that hurts for a little bit. How many points do I really lose? Because Hall, has shown that he will more often than not score between 40 and 50. So you might argue only you lose 40 odd points. And then Hall comes back. He's been an okay scorer. I know he's dropped off severely since his early round form, but I think you can put him in F6 and be happy with it. I really do. I think it's fine to have him there. I'd have no complaints about, I think he's still averaging 95 for a season, and he's shown that he can still find the ball, and midfield opportunity won't be a concern. So I think that's the debate you got to weigh up. Of course, you don't want to cop a 0. That's always everyone's first instinct. How can I avoid a 0? But sometimes you got to look a little long term. If you are going to cop a 0 this week, but your full long term plans are going to be okay, then that's fine. If you have to throw out your long term plans just to stop getting a 0 this week, that's when you might have to do a bit of thinking, because the last thing we want is not enough cash in the bank or not enough trades and still have one bloke who's not a premium just lingering. I know it's only one player, but it's important that we have our side as good as it possibly can be and bat as deep as possible. That's crucial. So that's about it for me. Bit of a late night one tonight. Hopefully be up Friday morning. But yeah, I feel like I'm not telling you a great deal you don't know, because at this stage we do have minimal issues to really delve into. There's not a stack on the old rookie ramp, and nor does there need to be, really, because most teams will be using band-aids for certain 0s or certain players that are out, rather than the old frantic trade down and wait for a guy to drop that we see throughout the early part and the mid-season. So hopefully your side is shaping up how you wanted it to several weeks back. A lot of planning goes into it, and a few curveballs for us at this late stage of the season and over the last couple of weeks, to be frank. So as far as captaincy options, we all know that too. I think Dangerfield, Salwood, you got Pendlebury tomorrow night, you got Goldstein tomorrow night. I know he's not in great form, but you just never know. So it's worth giving them a bit of a look as well. Dustin Martin's in unbelievable form. He's got to be considered now, as does Salwood. So definitely some players to look at. But thanks for tuning in once again, guys. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, give the video a like, comment as always. I always get around to reading them, even if I don't reply. Don't think that they've gone unread, because I certainly, if I don't get around to looking at them immediately, I certainly do at some stage. So thanks again, guys. All the best for the weekend, and I'll see you Monday.